Hi, my name is Liz and I'm a tour guide at Hearst Castle. Today we're going to find some lions. Not the real ones that Mr. Hearst used to have in his private zoo, but some of the art objects that surround Casa del Sol. I'm also going to talk a little bit about mudéjar design and just how lions figure into that. But before we begin, I need to remind you that Hearst Castle is currently closed to the public due to COVID-19. I encourage you to check the California State Parks website at parks.ca.gov in order to check the status of Hearst Castle or any other California state park. In many cultures, European, Asian, and African, lions represent strength, nobility, power, courage, and leadership. Lions can be seen on public buildings, churches, palaces, on bridges, and even guarding tombs. Are you ready to find some lions? A great place to begin is the courtyard of Casa del Sol. The courtyard of Casa del Sol is surrounded by lions. The first two are found in the fountain. This is a red Verona limestone fountain, and the lions are Byzantine in style. Mr. Hearst felt that this fountain would be very appropriate and effective in the courtyard of Casa del Sol. It has two lions. The male at the top is spitting water into the basin, and the female is nursing her cubs. Now it's interesting that the female has a mane. This tells us that possibly the artist had never seen a real lioness before. As we move to the center of the courtyard, there is another lion staring back at those limestone lions. This lion is carrying the weight of a baptismal font on his back. We don't know the exact age of this lion, but he has a heavy load to carry. There are even lions guarding the windows of Casa del Sol. Let's check those out. Each window colonnette has a lion at its base, and between that lion's paws is a human head. Some of these lions are 15th century Spanish antiques, and others are stone reproductions. Mr. Hearst had stated that he wanted lions to be a specialty at Casa del Sol, and he also wanted the house to have Moorish mudéjar design, or a combination of Moorish-Spanish design. So just what is Moorish-Spanish design, and how do lions relate? I'll begin with a little bit of history. The Moors were Muslims from North Africa who in the year 711 AD invaded southern Spain, where they stayed for about 700 years. This was a great time of strife and stress in the lives of the Spaniards, as it took them about 700 years to regain their territory. But it was also a time of great cultural widening when it came to art, language, and in building. Because you see, the Moors were expert architects and carpenters. When Spain finally did regain their land tract, the Moors had a choice. They could either convert to Christianity or they had to leave. Those that stayed converted. However, they did not forget their background nor their influences. The Spanish began to realize the skill of the Moorish workers when they started to employ them to build their buildings. King Pedro I was one such person to do so. When the palace inside the Alcazar was destroyed in an earthquake, Pedro I hired Moorish architects to rebuild the new palace. The workers incorporated many Islamic motifs within the new palace. Now, Pedro was a Spanish king, and part of his heraldic emblem was a lion representing the dominion of Leon. So Pedro had a very large lion installed above the gates. And to make it crystal clear that he was a Christian king, that lion was holding a cross. The blending of both Spanish and Islamic Moorish elements is called mudéjar. Inside of Casa del Sol, there is a lot of evidence of mudéjar design, as well as some lions. Because we're inside and observing social distancing, I can remove my mask for this part. The sitting room has a lion guarding over it. This lion is not Spanish, nor is it Moorish. It was sold to Mr. Hearst as a Greek or Roman antiquity. The room, however, is rich in mudéjar design. Two Islamic elements of mudéjar design are the use of geometric shapes and repetitive patterns called tracery. The ceiling is rich in both of those elements. This ceiling was inspired by a ceiling in a town hall in Granada, Spain. It was designed by Julia Morgan and created in plaster by Theo Vanderloo. It incorporates the form of tracery known as an arabesque. Arabesques are repeated floral designs that look very lacy. The ceiling also has repetitive geometric shapes, bursts of rhombuses, squares, and pentagon. The repeated use of design and shapes symbolizes the infinite nature of God. Some of the Spanish furniture in the room also uses repeated geometric shapes as well as arabesques. This 16th century piece of furniture is called a vargueño. A vargueño is a portable writing desk. It has handles on each side. If you were in the Renaissance, a country gentleman perhaps, and you needed to go to your home in the country, you could transport this vargueño with you. Below the vargueño is a compartment or an additional piece called the taquillon. Now, looking at this really makes me appreciate the weight of my portable writing desk, which is a laptop computer. Traditionally, vargueños are decorated using a mudéjar motif. The underside of the writing table has repeated geometric figures, in this case squares as well as pentagons, and it has a very clean line of symmetry. Within each shape, we see some arabesques, but this time there's a little bit of a difference because mingled in with those plants are lions. This would be the Spanish influence of mudéjar. There is another Spanish influence that is very Christian, and that would be the seashells, which most vargueños have. The seashells slide out in order to support the writing table. They are the symbol of St. James, who is the patron saint of Spain. It is said that in the 9th century, St. James appeared in spirit on a horse and helped the Spanish win a battle against the Moors. Next to this vargueño, there's an open vargueño, so we can get a look at what it looks like on the interior. The writing table opens up and is supported by the shells. The interior of the vargueño is very rich as well in geometric patterns, and it has a very clean line of symmetry as well. A very popular motif in geometric designs are the use of squares and the use of circles. Casa del Sol, House of the Sun, was named after its sunsets in the west over the Pacific Ocean. In the evening, one could go out to the terrace and watch that sunset. It's not evening, but we're going to go out there because no matter what time of day it is, there are lions out there, and some of them come with their own legend. The David fountain is inspired by the bronze reproduction David by Donatello, which sits at the top of the fountain. The fountain, however, in general, was inspired by the various fountains that surround the Alcazar in Seville, Spain. This particular fountain was carved using both marble and red Verona limestone by Stephen Milton. The lions at the bottom, however, holding up the basin, have a different inspiration. They are inspired by the lions in the fountain of the Patio de los Leones in Granada. And those lions in Granada come with their own legend. The legend involves a young Moorish princess named Saira, who lived with her cruel father in a palace in Granada. Saira's only friend was a Spanish boy named Arturo. He was captured for trespassing and sentenced to death by the king. Saira went into her father's chambers to beg for mercy for Arturo. The king was not there, but his diary was, and in it was a confession. He was not the true king, nor was he Saira's real father. He had murdered her parents to take control of the throne when Saira was an infant. Saira found her father in the courtyard and confronted him, demanding to know the truth. The false king admitted that everything in the diary was true. At that moment, Saira flew into a rage. She grabbed the necklace, a lion pendant, which was the only thing she had left of her mother. It turns out that that necklace was a talisman, and when she grabbed it, Saira had unleashed a curse. She let out the roar of a lion, and at that moment, the king, as well as his bodyguards, turned into stone lions for eternity. They can still be found in the courtyard in Granada today. Saira rescued Arturo, and of course, the two of them lived happily ever after. This stone lion guards the entrance to the West Terrace. Lions with rings through their mouths were very popular in the Middle Ages. Mr. Hearst's lion has a ring through its mouth for decorative purposes, but in the Middle Ages, those rings were functional. You could hitch something to it. For example, your horse. Now, in the Middle Ages, lions were carved using marble or perhaps limestone, so only the wealthiest of families could afford to have guardian lions. Later on, when stone casting became more popular, more and more families were beginning to be able to afford to have a lion. Lions outside of the home represent courage and strength, and they served as a message to any intruder that they had better not bother or harm the people inside of the home. Our last lions are found a bit farther up on the terrace. On the balcony is a 3rd century sarcophagus from Rome. Flanking the deceased are 2 lions, looking very predatory. Lions were very popular as a motif in Roman sarcophagi, and it is said that they were there to protect the deceased as well as to ward off evil. Those were just some of the lions around Casa del Sol. At Hearst Castle, there are many more lions to be found, both inside the house as well as outside. We miss you very much and look forward to the time when you can come again to Hearst Castle to find your own lions. In the meantime, please be safe, and we look forward to seeing you again soon on one of our tours.